Live from KPRC, this is Channel 2 News at 10.
Right now at 10, kidnapping, extortion, murder. The calling cards of MS-13, a brutal and highly organized gang. Tonight, Channel 2 travels to El Salvador, where members are groomed for a life of crime right here in the United States.
1,800 miles to the south of Houston, El Salvador is terrorized by Mara Salvatrucha, known as MS-13. What's happening there can be felt here every day.
The 7 men you see on this screen behind Dominique are all charged with murder in cases spanning Harris, Fort Bend, and Montgomery counties, including this scene from 2017 involving the ambush of 2 students outside the Khan Academy on Bissonnette, and this scene from 2016. A 16-year-old boy shot 27 times. His body left on a jogging trail in Missouri City.
Tonight, we take you inside MS-13, where it thrives on the streets of El Salvador. A warning, the images in this story are intense. Channel 2's Jacob Rascon was there for a major raid, and he's going inside prison walls, revealing the depths of MS-13's reach.
MS-13 is not a gang in El Salvador. It is a terrorist organization. And this, both sides will tell you, is a war. It's after midnight in Panchimalco. 400 elite officers gather in secret. A massive raid organized with U.S. support, targeting 31 MS-13 members. From top leadership or ranfleros to gang associates like Fatima.
In this case, she is the MS-13 member, they say. She works for the state, but on the side, they say she's extorting money from others. They're going through her documents now.
Extortion is the lifeblood of the vast criminal network. Inside MS territory, most of El Salvador, you pay up or you die. Every day in El Salvador, there are about a dozen murders on average. There was just another one. We're on our way. A man in his 20s tortured and executed, his body dumped on the side of the road.
Están cansados un poquito. You're tired of this. Sí. La verdad que sí. Yeah.
Tired, Officer Jesus Martinez says, because hundreds of El Salvadorans are murdered here every month, and the killer is almost never caught.
They didn't find anybody. They usually get away.
And they are usually kids.
Como una guerra.
They join as teenagers or younger.
12 years old. 13.
And quickly become serial killers.
Homicidio, murder, extorsión.
This 17-year-old confesses he's killed 20 people.
I've been shot 11 times.
Francisco Villarta lived and killed in Southwest Houston.
When you're in a gang, you're not going to let yourself get killed. Exactly. You're going to defend yourself, right? So we had to go out and do what we had to do.
Others here operated in Maryland, Virginia, and Los Angeles.
When did you live in the United States?
Del 2001.
2001.
Sí.
¿Y por mucho tiempo estabas ahí?
No, por 5 años, el 2005 me
5 years.
Herbiz, like many others, crossed into the United States as a minor. Hundreds of El Salvadorans are deported from the States every week.
MS-13?
Oscar Saliva is an accused MS-13 from San Francisco.
They accuse you of being a gang member? Un pandillero? No. Never.
Julio Correa lived in Galveston.
2017.
Big changes last year.
El Salvador's immigration director says last year the U.S. deported nearly 3 times as many El Salvadoran gangsters as the year before.
I'm leaving next month.
You're going back.
I'm going back.
You're going back.
I'm going to try again.
Mauricio Cardosa, a convicted felon, says there's nothing for him here.
Every day in El Salvador, hundreds of people line up for hours like this looking for work. But there are only ever a few positions available, and they only pay $5 per day. You want to work. Quieren trabajar en mes. They want to work. But there's no work.
No hay oportunidades.
For the young people, para los jóvenes.
No quisiera que sus hijos anduvieran en la calle. No.
I don't want my kids with the gangs. I don't want my kids in the street.
In the capital, San Salvador, a small victory. The largest ever MS-13 trial. 87 members, hundreds of felony charges. Top MS-13 leadership that not long ago enjoyed cell phones, cable, and prostitutes in prison, now kept in isolation. In Panchimalco, 20 additional MS-13 caught. The front lines of a decades-long war. The United States playing an increasingly active role.
So far this year, more MS-13 gang members have been caught trying to cross the border into Texas than all of last year. There are between 10 and 15,000 MS-13 in this country, it's estimated, and about 10% of them are in the greater Houston area, and they don't look like that with the facial tattoos. Here, no visible tattoos. They work, and on the side, they're gang members.
There's such a problem that now police have decided to fight this war on two fronts, correct?
I mean, Houston agents are in El Salvador helping to train, helping prosecute. And then those officers there come here to train. All of that unprecedented coordination will be in our next report.
Well, Jacob, you really brought this story home, and it is a part of what we have to deal with here.
Next report being?
Next report on the FBI, the way that they fight them here and in the United States.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob.
More than 1,000 members of the dangerous MS-13 gang live in the greater Houston area. They're responsible for kidnappings and murders, including the ambush of 2 students outside the Khan Academy on Bissonnette back in 2017, along with the murder of a 16-year-old boy whose body was left on a jogging trail in Missouri City.
Last month, Channel 2's Jacob Rascon traveled to El Salvador, where MS-13 ruled the streets through extortion and murder. He embedded with the country's elite police forces. They rounded up gang members. Tonight, Jacob continues his reporting from right here in Houston.
He got exclusive access to the elite FBI gang task force and a secret anti-gang operations center where agents coordinate their efforts to stop MS-13 killings here at home.
MS-13 doesn't have borders. From El Salvador to Houston and beyond, it is a single criminal network. When MS-13 killed Adan Huerta last year in El Salvador for opening a barbershop without their permission,
I cry sometimes.
his sister Monica in Houston had no time to mourn.
Que los gringos no te van a salvar.
They're not going to save
They're
you.
not going to save you.
That was their threat.
The gang sent Monica private Facebook messages, direct threats from MS-13 members in El Salvador and Houston.
No te pongas, don't get comfortable, you're next. I want to believe that because I'm here in the U.S., nothing will happen to me. But things are starting to get a little scary now.
They prey on their own people.
This is MS territory, we're told, in southwest Houston.
Up to 1,200 MS-13 members across greater Houston.
503, El Salvador's calling code, and MS-13.
The area's most brutal gang, responsible for gruesome and even satanic killings throughout the region, has been especially active here, the FBI says, since 2014.
The FBI gang task force is on the streets almost every day, gathering intelligence, conducting arrests.
The task force recently quadrupled the number of agents and officers dedicated to MS-13 investigations.
They're not making an arrest today. They're looking for a body, an MS-13 victim.
In El Salvador, MS-13 and law enforcement are at war. In Houston, the front lines are behind the scenes.
We've disrupted kidnappings and disrupted the murders that were going to take place.
And that happens frequently?
That happens routinely.
Mark Sable leads the elite task force based at the Texas Anti-Gang, or TAG Center. It is a secret location in Houston where investigators from more than a dozen agencies focus exclusively together on major gang threats. George Ryan is the TAG Center administrator.
MS-13 continues to be an emerging threat here in the Houston area. To establish this as a southern command and control point is critical for them to be able to do business throughout the country.
Task force agents and officers fighting MS-13 are cooperating like never before.
We routinely talk to investigators in Boston, in Northern Virginia, in Charlotte, in Florida, because our murderers are traveling throughout those cities.
Task force members from Houston train in El Salvador every year for weeks at a time. And Salvadoran police train right here in Houston, where Monica and her children.
You haven't done anything against MS-13?
No, I don't know nobody.
And many Central American immigrants live in fear.
I want everybody to know that just like they killed my brother, they have no heart. They will kill. If they don't get their way, they will kill.
The FBI says we don't care about your immigration status. We don't care about your socioeconomic status, whether you own a food truck or a Fortune 500 company. If MS-13 is extorting you or harassing you, we want to know about it, and we must know about it. You can contact them anonymously by phone or online. Just search for this story on the homepage. Jacob Rascone, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
MS-13 members are illegally entering the United States in growing numbers. Since last year, that number has quadrupled. In April, Channel 2's Jacob Rascone traveled to El Salvador, where MS-13 rules the streets with brutal force. Earlier this month, he revealed how law enforcement in the Houston area is working undercover to track down and arrest MS-13 gang members responsible for murders and kidnappings. Tonight, Jacob travels to the Texas-Mexico border, where MS-13 members are concealing their true identities and taking advantage of immigration laws to enter this country illegally.
It is a typical day at the border in the Rio Grande Valley.
A group of illegal immigrants triggered a hidden camera.
The Rio Grande Valley sector is the busiest sector in the nation for both illegal alien apprehensions and narcotic seizures.
500 apprehensions here every day, including MS-13 members.
This is how MS-13 gets into this country. All the way from El Salvador, crossing into the U.S. on one of the thousands of trails just like this.
Border Patrol just made contact with them, so now the group's running.
Many MS-13 have also turned themselves into Border Patrol, posing as innocent, helpless, unaccompanied minors, a protected class of immigrant sent to live with family members across the United States.
I think they're doing that because they know that perhaps there may be a loophole that they can exploit.
Over the last several years, more unaccompanied minors apprehended at the border have been sent to Harris County than any other county in the United States. The overwhelming majority are not gang members.
He confessed to his part in the murder of the...
But law enforcement sources tell KPRC nearly every MS-13 member who has committed a violent crime in our area in recent years had protected unaccompanied minor immigration status.
But you never know who you're apprehending out in the field, right? You never know if it's a gang member, a murderer, someone who's wanted.
Every person caught crossing the border illegally when we were there came from Central America.
You're from Honduras.
Sí. Including the Hernandez family, who hoped to make it to Houston.
Eres pandillero, you a gang member?
No.
Most, like Annalise and her son David, say they risked their lives traveling to America to escape MS-13.
I'm afraid they're gonna kill you.
Osway says MS-13 warned him never to return to Honduras or he would be executed. In prison, MS-13 members look like this.
Homicidio, murder, extorsion.
But in the open, for years now, they look like any other Central American immigrant.
What we're seeing now is they come with no tattoos, they try and blend in.
This year, Deputy Chief Raul Ortiz says MS-13 members have also regularly posed as fathers with young children, all an elaborate scheme.
You're encountering them at the border here almost every day.
So not only are you encountering them at the border, we're encountering them at our checkpoints. We're going around our checkpoints. Every station.
To help Border Patrol identify MS-13 members, select agents now train in El Salvador with local police, similar to the FBI and ICE. From El Salvador to Houston, to the border and beyond. The fight against MS-13 is increasingly coordinated. What law enforcement everywhere hope is finally a winning strategy.
So guys, it was clear from our trip to the border that, first of all, more people, a lot more, almost 3 times as many are crossing the border illegally compared to last year. It was also clear that most of these people are trying to get away from gangs like MS-13 and bad economic conditions. And then it was also clear that more gangs that have tried to cross or been caught in years are crossing and being caught right now. The Border Patrol believes that's partly because they are getting better and better at identifying gangs like MS-13. Jacob Rascone, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Thank you for your report, Jacob. MS-13, a violent gang with more than 1,000 members in the Houston area, is responsible for the ambush of 2 high school students last year and the murder of a 16-year-old boy in Missouri City, according to investigators.
In April, our Jacob Rascone traveled to El Salvador, covering how the gang rules with brutal force. Then in May, he discovered MS-13 members concealing their true identities on the southern border. Tonight, our investigation continues.
Jacob reveals the gang's mafia-like structure, how they use threats and extortion to keep the cash flowing, and he's focusing on local law enforcement efforts to stop MS-13's deadly crimes.
This is MS territory.
Also, of course, some MS territory.
Inside MS-13 territory in El Salvador, they make the rules.
I got 12.
And the rules are always enforced.
Aquí probablemente lo maten.
Yeah, he'll probably be killed for testifying.
For the first time, Salvadoran prosecutors recently revealed how this criminal enterprise works, the full MS-13 structure. El Salvador meticulously organized into 249 clicas, or cliques, which are governed by 48 programas, or programs, all led by 15 ranfleros, one for every letter of Mara Salvatrucha, the full name of the gang. On the MS-13 totem pole, colaboradores are at the bottom. Chequeos check for police. Homeboys are full members, serial killers. Palabreros run the cliques. Corredores oversee the programas and collect extortion money, more than $2 million every month. Ranfleros in and out of prison direct the vast criminal network. And not just in El Salvador, across Central America, Mexico, and in more than 40 U.S. states.
That's, again, one of the unique things about MS-13 is the way they report their crimes to leadership within El Salvador.
Mark Sable leads Houston's FBI gang task force, which recently quadrupled the number of agents dedicated to MS-13 cases.
When they do a homicide, they have to prove they did it. So to prove they did it, they often videotape it and transmit it to via social media to either El Salvador or other program or clique leaders within the Houston area.
And not just to prove a murder.
I went into a deep depression, and I'm trying to cope with it.
When MS-13 murdered Monica's brother in El Salvador, gang members used Facebook Messenger to warn her here in Houston that she would be next.
Whether it's Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, it's all over the map.
An evolving international crime cartel now facing, as we witnessed, an increasingly coordinated response from U.S. law enforcement who understand their best weapon is you.
We don't care about your immigration status. We don't care about your socioeconomic status. Whether you own a food truck or a Fortune 500 company, if MS-13 is extorting you or harassing you, we want to know about it. We must know about it.
Prosecutors in El Salvador tell us after fighting MS-13 for decades, this is the first time they have truly understood the full structure, a structure that MS-13 in the United States has repeatedly failed to replicate. Jacob Rascone, KPRC, Channel 2 News.